Hello, welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today I have a special review for you. Today we're going to be taking a look at this. It is the NES Classic Edition, a tiny little replica NES console that comes pre-packed with 30 of the most popular NES games. Now, if you're a person of a certain age, you may have fond memories of the original Nintendo Entertainment System. It was pretty much ubiquitous in American households in the late 80s. Basically, it was video games. Your parents would tell you to quit playing that Nintendo all the time, even if you weren't even playing that Nintendo. I was sort of on the tail end of that. I think the Super Nintendo was really my butter zone in terms of being an adolescent who was really into video games. I still have very fond memories of the original Nintendo Entertainment System. And if you're a real Nintendo fan, though, you may already have a lot of the games that come pre-packaged on this system. There's the Virtual Console on Wii U, on Wii, on the 3DS. But if you're perhaps a lapsed Nintendo fan, someone who has fond memories of these games but doesn't really have a way to play them, this could be a very economical way to play some of the best games that ever came out on the system. Very simple, plug and play. But let's take a closer look at this. I'll show you how it comes packaged, I'll talk a little bit about the user interface, and I'll just show you a little bit of gameplay. Not much, because I don't have a way to capture off my television, but we'll have a little look at the menu, some of the display options, and I'll give you my impressions as to whether or not the NES Classic is a viable way to relive your glorious past. The NES Classic comes packaged in a box that seems calculated to elicit maximum nostalgia. It just screams 80s. One of the first things I noticed about this, besides the cool 80s aesthetic, was this little logo on the top, Classics. One can only hope that Nintendo is planning to have a whole line of these classics. SNES Classic, please. I would love that. And we just have a little bit of information about the console. On the back, you can see Retro Blast from the Past. Shows all the titles that are included on the system. In brief, Balloon Fight, Bubble Bobble, Castlevania, Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong Jr., Double Dragon 2, The Revenge, Dr. Mario, Excitebike, Final Fantasy, Galaga, Ghosts and Goblins, Gradius, Ice Climber, Kid Icarus, Kirby's Adventures, Mario Brothers, Mega Man 2, Metroid, Ninja Gaiden, Pac-Man, Punch-Out, Star Tropic, Super C, Super Mario Brothers 2, Super Mario Brothers 3, Tecmo Bowl, The Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2, The Adventures of Link. Many classic games, most of them winners. Ice Climber, some of these never played. Actually, quite a few of these I never played back in the day, but some of them, many of them I did, and many of them I enjoyed very, very much. Super Mario Brothers 3, come on, all-time classic. Mega Man 2, come on, all-time classic. A lot of good games. Let's open this baby up. Now you're playing with power. Yes, I have already unboxed this, so no, things are not put in this exactly as they were first. But we have this little poster here, the Nintendo Entertainment System. Some information, health and safety, my Nintendo points, whatever. And here you have some instructions on how to hook it up, pretty simple. But then this really cool old school Nintendo poster. The Nintendo Entertainment System. Now you're playing with power since 1985. It shows the original configuration in which the system came out with the Zapper, Rob the Robot. I didn't have this fancy version. We just had the good old-fashioned normal Nintendo Entertainment System. I think we had the Zapper and Duck Hunt and all that good stuff. Of course, Duck Hunt is not available on this console because the Zapper doesn't work with HD TVs. It has to be with CRT TV. Anyway, pop this open. We have the console itself, which we will save for last. And we've got the controller. Oops, plastic off already. Underneath, we just had the power brick, which is USB, which is very cool. So you can actually power the system just in your computer or any USB port if you wish. Here's is that mini USB or micro USB? I can never remember. There's that. The HDMI cable was in here as well, but I took that out, but it does come with an HDMI cable. And then we have the controller. Look at that. When was the last time you saw a brand new NES controller that wasn't encrusted with the sweat and grime and mucus and tears of frustration from countless little children? Here we go, and here we also have the now infamous 2.5 foot long cord. Yes, that's something that a lot of people are complaining about with this system. The cord on this baby, you can't see this, is only 2.5 feet. Take my word for it. The original NES cable is much, much longer. The NES cable, or the controller cable. Here we go, there's one of the nice dingy, grimy ones. It's actually not too bad. This one's a little longer because I have an adapter on it. Let's pop that off. But you can see this is many, many, many times longer. I think it's, I have no idea, but it's longer. But let's just look at these controllers. Top is obviously the old one. They're basically exactly identical, and they feel identical. The buttons feel exactly the same. Even the kind of rubbery start and select buttons has the same nice click. Oh, it's lovely. The only thing different is the back stamping there. On here we have Nintendo controller, and then there's some, like, I don't know, warnings. And here we just have Nintendo controller, model number, yada, yada, yada. Made in Japan, this is made in China, the new version. But they're identical, even down to the screws that they use. So very cool. Of course, not very cool that the cord is so short, but we'll talk about that a little more. To me, it seems like this console was meant to be played sitting right next to you on the coffee table. And now the console itself. Look at this thing. It's adorable. It's a perfect tiny little replica of the original NES. Some main differences you'll notice. Obviously, the door doesn't open because you're not putting cartridges in here. It's just flash memory. But you got your little power button. It clicks in just like in the original Nintendo. The reset doesn't really feel the same. But then also you have these Wemo ports instead of the original Nintendo port. Obviously, you can imagine how big the port would have to be. I mean, I guess they could have done that technically, but why bother? They've got the new technology. On the back, we just have an HDMI out and the DC in. So that is very, very convenient that you can plug this baby in with an HDMI cable directly into your HD TV. A lot of people who are into old school gaming, they'll get an original NES console and you have to use the RF or component video cables. They just don't upscale great to an HD TV. They just don't really look that fantastic. But this outputs at 720p and it looks really, really good. Just look at that though. I mean, I have pretty big hands, but that's ridiculous. If you look at the controller, it's basically as wide as the controller is. It's so tiny. It's light, but it doesn't feel cheap. It feels like it could survive a few tumbles off a coffee table or off a desk or what have you. And this is the kind of thing that you could really just like throw in a bag and take with you. Just have an HDMI cable and the power. And since it's not a big power brick, it's very convenient too. So you just take this with you, HDMI cable, the USB, and you can plug it in anywhere. You can bring it to your friend's house. Hopefully I will get another controller at some point. It was very difficult to procure this on launch day and they did not have any extra controllers anywhere, but eventually I'll be able to do that and get some hot two-player action. When you boot up the NES Classic, you're treated to a very simple but very functional menu screen. All the games are listed here. You can go in alphabetical order, or you can choose to sort by two-player games, by recently played, by times played, by release date, by publisher, and then we go back to title again. You have several display options. You can render them in 4:3, which is the way they were displayed back in the day. There's pixel perfect mode, which is basically completely perfect square pixels, which is basically the way they were developed, but most people would never have played them like this. And then there's also CRT TV filter, which basically tries to replicate the scan lines and blurriness and general crappiness of old school televisions. When you jump into a game, like Dr. Mario for instance, you simply select your level, get going, and enjoy some old school gaming goodness. I'm amazing at Dr. Mario, by the way. At least I used to be. And if at any time you want to stop your game, you can simply press the reset button on the console. You'll jump back into the menu, and then you have a suspend point. You can go down and actually save this. You can have up to 4 suspend points per game, which is a lot more than you had back in the day. Most games you couldn't save at all. And you can lock each suspend point so it can't be overwritten. Quite convenient. The fact that this outputs in 720p and that you can just plug it directly into your HD TV via HDMI cable is really convenient. I don't know of a simpler, easier way or legal way to play original NES games than this. And now you can just sit back and enjoy some old school, horribly frustrating NES gameplay. Damn it! No! Oh, you son of a bitch. No! Zombies! Freaking zombies! What the hell? I have no idea where I am. Everything is replicated pretty perfectly. So even the screen flicker, some of the slowdown you get in certain areas when too many pixels are displayed on screen, it's all there. And it's all glorious. God damn it. The games look better than they ever have, and I don't notice any input lag at all, which is pretty important for these games because you need pinpoint accuracy when attempting to defeat these heinous levels. Ah! So there you have it, the NES Classic Edition, a tiny little NES console that fits in the palm of your hand, pre-packed with 30 of the most popular games that ever came out for the NES. I think this is a really economical, really cool, good way to enjoy some of these games. For 60 bucks, not bad at all. If you do own a Wii U and you get some of these games in their virtual console, they're usually around $4, $5 a piece, I'm not exactly sure. So you're getting a really good price for these games. And if you don't own one of those consoles, I can't think of a simpler or more legal way of getting 30 of the best and most popular games on the system. There's some clunkers on there, but for the most part, they're all really good classic games. Just plug and play with an HDMI cable. It's really simple, really nice. The only issue I have really, and it's the issue that a lot of people have, is the controller cord, as we mentioned, is only 2.5 feet. For me, it's not as much of a big deal because it really seems like this console is meant to be played just sitting right next to you, maybe on the coffee table. You get a little bit of a longer HDMI cable, a little longer power cable. You keep it up on your entertainment system. When you're ready to play, you pop it down on your coffee table, you pop it on, and because you have to press the reset button to switch back to the main menu, it just seems to beg to be near you. Like in the old days when you used to sit on the floor with your Nintendo system in front of the TV. So to me, short controller cords, not a huge issue, and of course there are going to be third-party options out there, extensions for the cable, wireless options as well. So I really think $60 for this adorable little package is a steal. The only problem is whether or not you're going to be able to find it. This holiday season, it's probably going to be very scarce. I had to queue up for a while to get my hands on this on launch day, and they're gone. They are just not available at all. Not online, not anywhere. Hopefully more stock will come in and you can get yourself an NES Classic Edition. I highly recommend it. I highly enjoy it. It's really brought back a lot of nostalgia for me. Some of the frustration I used to experience as a child playing these games. I was very small when I played these, so I didn't quite have the temperament, perhaps, to enjoy them fully, and now it's fun to go back and try to replay some of them, get further than I did way back when. And it's just such a simple, easy way to play. And the other thing I've been doing too is just sitting on my computer. You can plug it directly into my computer monitor, and I just have it on the desk next to me. It's very, very convenient. So there you go, the NES Classic Edition. A great way to play some of the best games that ever came out for the Nintendo Entertainment System in an adorable, convenient little package. If you can get your hands on one, I highly recommend it. Thank you so much for watching. I've been your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things. I'll see you later. So cute.